My name is Lee, and I am on a journey to share my experiences with as many people as possible in hopes that it helps you guys. This is a series called Reflections, and today I just want to kind of dive a little bit further into self reflection. I think about this stuff quite a bit, and I'd love to share it with you. So, today's reflection is about the story of the clay pot. And if you know me at all, you've probably heard me talk about this one. I love it. I think it's simple, it has a good message, and it helps you kind of reframe, I don't know, how you go about doing stuff. But the first little slide I have is about 10,000. And you probably know what I'm talking about when I say 10,000. 10,000 hours, right? You've heard this before. It takes 10,000 hours to make a master. It takes 10,000 hours to master a craft, become top tier, right? The top 1%, whatever. And it's not an exact science. If you do it for 10,000 hours with non-deliberate, non-focused practice, you probably won't be there. If you do it for 5,000 with a lot of deliberate intention, you probably get there faster. So just a concept more than it is a hard and fast rule. And it suggests that with constant thought and energy, you can achieve mastery of a particular field. So look at this from a perspective of athletes training or vocational skills, somebody welding, students reading. And the thing is that like at the low level, it doesn't really matter what you do. Doing anything at all is better than doing nothing at all. But once you get a little bit of skill, you're a little bit more knowledgeable, you're a little bit better at welding, you can run a lot faster, you can climb or jump or whatever you're trying to do a little bit better. Then you start to focus on the specific tasks. But often we won't even start a task because we're like, you know how hard it'd be to run a mile in 3 minutes? Of course, that's not how those guys started either. So the idea is just get started is more important than how you get started. So let's talk about the clay pots. So the parable of the clay pots goes something like this. There was a class at a college, and the professor at the first day decided to split the class right down the middle. There's two groups of people. Let's call them Group A and Group B. Group A is a pottery class. They're gonna make clay pots. They're gonna make as many as they can, and the Group A will be graded by their volume. So as many as they can make. Let's say 50 pounds equals an A, 40 pounds equals B, whatever. Group B was only gonna be able to make one pot, no redos, one perfect pot. However, they did not have to produce anything until the end of the semester. So they could research incessantly, they could look at other people's work, but they could not make a single pot until they made the single pot. At the end of the class, when everybody's grades started rolling in, the professor noticed that not only did the people who made the highest quantity make the greatest pots, quality-wise, that the people who only made one pot by far were the worst pots. And so quantity develops quality over time. And you see this whenever I mention the athletes or the welder or the student. It's more about repetition and consistency than it is about just crushing it every single time. So, can you do both? Absolutely. But focus on doing first. The act of doing improve more than the act of considering. What about plateaus? This one says do. This is my notes. Plateaus are inevitable in every single thing you do. In the case of athletes, they will get to a point where they just don't feel like they're improving. Well, that's when they go into specialized work. Welding, your welds are good but not great. Specialized work. Students, masters, doctorate, specialty. These break through those plateaus. If you can keep going and keep making those clay pots whenever everybody else has given up, if you can learn to appreciate your failures instead of punishing yourself for failures, if you can not take your failures personally, that will give you the ability and the headspace to continue. So success comes from consistency and attitude, not from intelligence and luck or opportunity in the case of luck. That doesn't mean you can't harness all four, right? So, next slide. Talk about the future. Delayed gratification of large successes is tough. However, celebrate small wins every day. When I was younger and I felt like I hadn't accomplished anything in a particular day, I'd just go learn a new vocabulary word or something. It didn't have to be big. It was anything to keep the ball rolling. A little bit of momentum. All right, pilot-like kind of scenario today. I'll get back on the horse tomorrow. Every single day, make a tiny bit of progress. You won't see it every day, but over the long term, others will see it. You will see the version of you that you become later. So while it is delayed gratification, celebrate those little wins every day. So what kind of pots are you making? Because as for me, it's these videos. I don't know how to make videos. I'm learning to make videos. I don't know how to talk comfortably in front of a camera. I'm learning to talk comfortably in front of a camera. These are my clay pots. And I'm just trying to learn with you. See if I can get comfortable doing something that's made me uncomfortable. So I always like to end on a quote. So here's my quote for the day. We generate fears while we sit, but we overcome them through action. Just making a tiny bit of progress every day pushes the fear away. It makes you feel like you're making progress towards something and distracts you from that dread. If you would like any one-on-one coaching, there'll be a link at the bottom of this description of the video. Fill it out. Let's talk. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you think about clay pots, and I will see you in the next one.